Okay, so, hi. So we're continuing from last week, and and just to put it in a nutshell, just to say what we were saying last week we were saying like this, that there's no way to really be able to deal with life effectively and come out on top if we are constantly in the what ifs of life. What if I would have married that person? What if I would have done that? What if I would have gone there? Always constantly looking back in retrospect and saying how I should have changed the picture, how I should have changed the setting, what I should have done different. Or living in the future, what's going to be? Am I ever going to fill in the blank? Right? Living in that kind of space, either in the past or in the future, will always result in one thing: stress, internal chaos, sadness, unhappiness, just a lot of weighing down. You know, on the way here I was driving and there were like a bunch of red lights. And whenever I get to red lights, I usually peer into people's windows to see what they're doing. So this time I looked at the lady next to me, and she just looked so miserable, and I felt so bad for her. She was so beautiful and young, and she just looked like the world was just like has caved in on her. And wherever you go, people are so tight, unhappy, serious. They take life very seriously. Everything is very stressful. Now you could say, like, how can you blame them, Devorah? You don't know, you've never been in their shoes. God forbid they can have a sick child, or they themselves can be sick, or they have no money, or they can't pay the bills, or whatever it may be. So in general, what we're going to be doing in these classes is that we're going to be learning here how to, through the Torah, right? Through the Torah, through God's perception of reality, how to really be able to get through this life without being in a constant state of bug out, without being in a constant state of life is happening to me. Life is happening to me. Where things are constantly, there's the knee-jerk reaction is fear. The knee-jerk reaction is trepidation. The knee-jerk reaction is how am I going to get out of this situation? Or how can I put myself in that situation to be able to get married, to have more money, to be able to, whatever it may be, have a child. So I was telling you last time a little bit that a year ago, about a year ago, I was desperately searching for an answer to my frustration, sadness, giving upness of life. And Baruch Hashem, I have this policy with myself where there's no option to go elsewhere but Torah, because I've been in other places. I grew up secular, so I know that there's nothing there that has anything really substantial to offer me, and I'm not gonna live my life in a cop-out way. I'm not gonna, just party, just drink, just get out in order to be able to just live, right? I really want to feel good, and if you want to be super selfish, then you want to do it the right way, then there's really only one way, and that's Hashem's way. Because if you follow, like we said, there are guarantees in certain things in life. There are guarantees. When you follow a certain process, you do get rewards. For example, Gedalia talks about this a lot, like Tony Robbins, right? So there's Tony Robbins constantly talks about, he has a whole day, 3-4 day seminar, and after he has a 3-4 day seminar, you see people, my sister did it, you see people walking on coals, they're walking on fire. People that are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that have done his seminars, 3-4 day seminars, are at the end of the seminar walking on fire. They're walking on coals. And you're like, what? How are they walking on fire? How are these plain old people, these plain regular 9-to-5ers, people that are getting by, people that have a lot of struggles in their life, people that have a lot of questions, people that have paid a lot of money to get to the seminar, to get some relief, to get some answers. How are they walking on fire? What is going on? What is the situation? And you see people walking on coals, right? There's something very real about devoting yourself to a certain process, and once you're in that process, you will see results. The reason that people are so unhappy and people are so stuck in life is because they don't commit to anything really, right? You'll have people that are super, I have cousins that are so far from Torah, like the furthest thing in the world. Like I was sitting with them and I said the bracha, they're like, what are you doing? They've never heard anything that has anything remotely connected to Judaism, and they grew up in like super religious land, like around like 1 million shuls on their block, and never saw anything, never heard anything, right? but they're beyond spiritual. Beyond spiritual. Spirituality is dripping. Beyond spiritual, so connected, so meditative, so in here, right? And then on the other hand, like, I hope she's not watching this, but on the other hand, like bathing in nude beaches, And then I have other friends that I know that are super religious. They will never pass up a gefilte fish on Shabbos, ever, right? Shabbos is gefilte fish and cholent, and there's no talk about it, right? Obviously, super religious, super like everything. Every bit of halacha is followed, and yet there is nothing in terms of real devotion and connection to the cause. So the thing is like this. Either way, either extreme is never going to ever really work. Why? Because it's a system. And if you're only devoted to half the system, then when you walk on those coals, you're going to get burned. You see, you have to be devoted to the whole system, which means mind, body, and soul. Which means if I understand that if I want to be happy in my lifetime, and if I want to be a good role model to my children, and if I want to change the world, and whatever level I can change it, and leave this world, and have left a dent on this planet, and on whatever level on that scale, but to have made a difference by my presence here, okay? And it doesn't mean that I have to stand on some stage and preach to millions of people at all. And we're going to get into it later on in our classes about energies and what our actions and our thoughts, how they affect the world energetically in our homes and our children and our relationships on an energy level. Okay, but that's not for today. What we're talking about today, the introduction that we're saying today is that if we understand that there is a process, but it's a process. It's a whole process. It's not like you can't go on a diet and be like, I'm good all day, and at night, like, pound fluff. You can't. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, right? Every single night, pound pizza, Chinese food. It's not going to work, right? You can't take half. You can't be super spiritual and bathe in nude beaches, and you can't be super halachic and have zero connection to spirituality. It can't work. So what's the process? What are we talking about when we say, okay, so if I want to sell this to you, and I very, very much am here to sell this to you, to all of you, to you, and to all of you here, I'm here to sell this to you, because I want you to know, right? Oh, and I'm not getting enough money for doing this at all, but I'm just saying. Just kidding. I want you to know, right? I want you to know that if we understand the picture, the full picture, our life can be a completely different life. We can walk on fire and not feel it. We can get through life with issues, with problems, because no one's spared issues and problems. Nobody. The most perfect person in the world is not spared issues, problems, traumas. No one. Right? What's the percentage of people that have never gotten into a car accident? I'm 33 and I've gotten into like a lot. Right? Just going through a car accident, I was in a car accident in February. Should never ever be in a car accident again. Sammy, none of you should ever be in a car accident, ever. The trauma that lingered with me for 2 weeks following that, thinking that my children, God forbid something happened to them, not knowing, being thrown from one car to the next car, into another car, into a wall, and not knowing what's happening with me, and coming out well and fine, with a few bruises, and taking my children out, right? The trauma that lingered there was beyond. People were like carrying us. I didn't know who was where my kids were, my things were. I didn't know what was going on. I was totally disoriented, right? Being transferred from one ambulance to the next ambulance in the middle of a snowstorm. Just craziness. Getting to the emergency room in Brooklyn and just like having no bed and then my children being taken away from me to the pediatric ward and not knowing what's going on. That kind of trauma, that like lingers, right? Life is not a matter, it's not about dodging hardships, and it's not about avoiding problems, and it's not living a perfect life. And it's not just let me make enough money and then I'll be fine. People that have all the money in the world have many, many, many issues and problems. So the rule of thumb is that life will hand us a lot of problems. When we're young, they're smaller. When we get older, they're larger, usually. Right? The chachma here, the idea here, really the focus here is to know how to be able to get through this life in the best way ever. And not just get through it, but master it. Master it to a point where I can deal with anything. And every time anything happens, I come out swinging. I'm not fearful. I'm not afraid. Life is not happening to me. I come out swinging all the time. And not because I'm trying to protect myself, because I'm following a certain process. And that's the process we're talking about tonight. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I really want to stay on time because I don't want to go over time. What we're going to talk about tonight is how to be happy. So I'm not going to give you one of these like same old speeches, like, you know, just be happy and like accept everything that Hashem does for the good and like, you know, have emunah, even though it's all real and true. But how to be happy and what is happy? What is happy? So the world has sold us through advertisements and through the world that we're living in today that happiness is and always will be, okay? Happiness is and always will be what you acquire. The million-dollar question in America is always, so how much do you make? Right? People don't ask it because it's like super private and personal, because like you don't ask that kind of thing. When I got to America from Israel, I lived in Israel for 11 years. I was horrified. Like, I'm Israeli, and like it's like one of the questions that you ask in Israel. Like your friends are like, hey, how much do you make? Want to go out for coffee? It's on you, because I don't make as much. Like, it's like very, very normal to ask people how much they make. What? You only make 30 shekel an hour? I make 45 shekel an hour. Let me talk to your boss. It's like very, because no one makes any money unless you're traveling to Europe or to New York or whatever. No one makes any money. Everyone's like basically in debt, but they're all chilling on the beach or in the cafes, you know? But here, it's like you can be BFFFFs with someone.
And you don't know what they mean.
You cannot ask that question. It's like asking them.
No, we don't ask.
It's like asking them like in their most deepest, darkest secret. You can't ask that. That is like super personal and private. But why? Okay. So the question in America is always like, it's always like you are measured, right, by how much you are able to bring in, by your levels of success. How successful you are is based on how much you acquire, how much you have. That is how successful you are as a person, as a human being. That is how much you are successful as a human being. And the thing to know, and I want to talk about Rosh Hashanah because it's his yahrzeit tonight. I wanted to say a story about Rosh Hashanah, and I'm going to get there in a minute. I'm like racing through like an hour and a half speech in like a very short amount of time. But I really want to give this concept because I feel like we're more advanced. I don't have to like build it up so much. I feel like you have behind you many hours of classes. The concept is like this: if your happiness is contingent on anything, then you might as well hang up your towel and check out of life. If your happiness is dependent on your husband, if your happiness is dependent on how well your kids are doing, if your happiness is dependent on how big your bank account is, if your happiness is dependent on how healthy you are, and if your happiness is dependent on how skinny you are, if your happiness is dependent on where you live, if your happiness is dependent on how much love you get from somebody else, if that is where your happiness is coming from, hang up your towel. Why? Because happiness, being a person that is happy is not something that you can touch. It is not something that you can buy. It is not something that it's not something that you actually get. People that are unhappy, so they'll add another room to their house, or they'll buy another magnificent piece of furniture, or they'll get a new car every so often, or they'll go on another vacation. And really what they're asking for deep down inside their hearts is, I want to expand. And I'm not expanding. It's super tight in here, and I'm feeling really uncomfortable. So let me build another room, and let me get another deck, and let me get another car. So let me go on another vacation and another shopping spree. Because people are dying to expand. And it's so found in today's world. What is today's world? Gashmias, the more you have, the more stuff you have. It means that you're more up there, you're more successful. People need to acquire more. It's a need. You'll talk to people that are millionaires, right? And they're constantly working. Man, why are you working? You got enough money. Now you can go live your life. Now you can go explore yourself. And they need to constantly distract themselves with work. Why? Because they're constantly looking to expand, but it's not going to come from there. And at the same time, we are the richest generation that has ever lived on planet Earth ever, in all of its time. Okay, ever. We have more than any man has ever had, ever. What we have today on our tables for dinner, only kings and queens had back in the day. Okay? And yet, we are up to, I wrote down this percentage, I had to look it up today because it was just crazy. I'll tell it to you in a second. Where is it? Here. Between 1988 and 2005, okay, usage of antidepressants has increased by 400%. Okay? We have so much, and as we grow with how much we have, we're also growing in depression numbers. So it can't be that money will make you happy. And it can't be that acquiring a bigger home, a nicer car, will make you happy. It can't. So the million-dollar question is, where do I get this thing that's called happiness that the entire world is searching for, and they all think it's in a perfume bottle, it's in a vacation, it's in a cruise, it's with a guy, it's in a club, it's in a bar, it's rolled up in a joint? Where? Where is everyone searching for this thing? Where do I get it? Because it's out there. But where do I get it? So the Torah tells us like this: if you ever want any good answers, you always look in the Torah. Because it's straight up, and it's real, and it's raw, and it's unadulterated. And it's not sugar-coated. It's not like, like I just saw a commercial on Facebook. The ultimate happiness in the wonder brow. The wonder brow. It's like this new thing for your brows, right? It's like the ultimate happiness in this air freshener. This new air freshener, and you see her like turning it on, and the whole house looks so gorgeous. And she's turning it on, and it's like this, and you're already like sensing it. But our senses, they're playing with our senses. They're pulling on the strings of our heart. When they show us, when we watch these movies, these love movies of this like Leonardo DiCaprio man that is just like beyond, right? And you're like, and then you look at your husband and you're like, right? And then you're like, and like everything is playing with our senses. Everything is playing with our senses. You walk down the block and you see these gigantic billion-dollar homes, and you're like, all right. Yeah, my washing machine is broken. I don't know on from that these days. Right? It's crazy, right? Because it puts us in a place. If everybody were to live in tents, then you'd be chill. Everything would be good. You're like, all right, my tent's nice. I got a nice tent. But if everyone's living in a house and you're living in a tent, all you can think about is not living in a house. How come I'm not living in a house? Why am I living in a tent? Why am I stuck in this darn tent? Right? In other words, our senses, what we see, the Torah says, Chazal say, our eyes see and our heart desires. I read this that, I think it was the Chafetz Chaim's mother. She had very few friends, if any. And I loved this, that she said, it's better for me not to be surrounded by people, not to be surrounded by things, because then I can be more present with what I have. Because you go to this friend's house. I'm not telling you not to have friends. I'm just telling you what she said. You go to this friend's house, and you're like, oh, and her husband got her that, and she got this, and this that, and she just got a new this, and you're like, oh, okay. And my husband's a couch potato. Right? Or this is my situation. Or you see these kids, and these kids are like super like, they have such good midos, and they're so good to their parents, and then you come home to your brats, and you're like, right? And why is this happening to me? Right? Why is life happening to me? And so many examples and so many reasons. She said it's because why? Because our eyes, whatever eye sees, all of a sudden our heart wants. Our heart desires. That's why it says in Shema, watch what you look at. It's not a matter of a mitzvah or a veirad. Is it usher to watch a movie? Is it not usher? Watch yourself. Protect this temple that you are in. Because it's your temple. So if you're looking at that, and 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 you're like, I don't have anything. What do I even have? Happens to my kids all the time. right? They go to their cousin's house. Their cousin lives in a gorgeous house. They have a pool. They have a trampoline, and they come back to our house to have 2 floors, 3 floors. Come back to our apartment, and they're like, we don't have anything. And it's a work in progress with them all the time to point to them what we have, how much we have, how much we don't deserve, and yet we still have. Hashem loves us so much. It's a constant. So protect your temple. Protect yourself. If you don't need it, don't walk it. Don't look at it. If you don't need it, don't go there. You don't need it. So don't expose yourself to it. Because all it will do is it will complicate. It will pull on the strings of your emotions. It will tug on your heart, on your senses. It will tug at you, and it will make you look at what you do have in a negative eye. So be smart. Protect yourself. Be your own best friend. Be your own true best friend. What does the Torah say about happiness? The Torah says about happiness like this. It says like this. Simcha, mitzvah gedolah liot b'simcha. B'simcha is the same letters as machshava. Machshava is thought. The only place in the world that simcha exists, that happiness exists, the only place that it exists is in your thoughts. If you are able in your life to master your thoughts, and it's not that hard, and I'm going to tell you right now some things that are going to blow your minds, okay? If you are able to master your thoughts and get for real about your life, and not just be like, I'm a victim, everything's happening to me, you know, my life is so hard. Everybody's life is hard. Everybody's life is hard. There's not one person's life that's not hard. Everyone's dealing with a lot. The chachma is to know how to deal. The chachma is to know how to take it on. So the same letters as v'simcha as machshava is that the only way in your lifetime you will ever be able to get through life in a happy way, in a calm way, in a serene way, in a present way, is for you to be able to ride on the horse. It's not for the horse to ride you. In other words, for you to be able to control your mind, not for your mind to control you. When I was watching that girl sitting on her steering wheel, and on the way here, all she was doing was this. Her mind, I could see it because it's a natural human response to look that way. Of life is too big for me. Life is too grand. Life is too much. Right? Why? Because her thoughts are killing her. Her mind is running wild, and her thoughts are killing her. What I don't have, what's happening to me, what's going on in my life, why is this happening to me? It's not fair. If there is a God, why are you doing this to me? And all the things that are happening to her. And it adds, and it's one on top of the next, and this bill, and that problem. And it's constant, and it's almost like the horse is riding the man. It's not the man that's riding the horse. The tip that I'm giving us tonight, right now, to all of us is that it's possible, and it's so doable to be able to ride your horse. To you be able to be on top of your thoughts, on top of what comes into your mind. What you allow yourself to think, where you allow yourself to go. You be the master of it. Because as long as you're in charge, you will experience joy. Within hardships, within life, with things not going as you wish they were. But you're cool, and you're okay, and you're still able to smile after a long day. And you're still able to smile even though you don't know how you're paying your mortgage. You're still okay. You're still able to smile. You don't have the whole world weighing down on your shoulders. So next time we're going to get into a little bit about Emunah. But right now, what I want to say is, about a year ago, I was starting to say this before. A year ago, I started looking for answers because I was in a bad place and there was no answer. So I knew Emunah had to be the answer. I didn't know anything about Emunah. I was religious for most of my life, 22 years at that point. I knew nothing about Emunah. I did a lot of mitzvahs. I was very very religious, but I knew nothing about Emunah. And Emunah, everything is in Emunah. You have any problem, go to Emunah. You have any issue, go to Emunah. You have any qualm, go to Emunah. You have any sadness, go to Emunah. It's all there. That's your address. There's no other address. Emunah is the address. Always. So I went to Emunah and I just started to do all this research. And like I was telling you last time, I started doing all this research on Emunah. And I came up with like a lot of classes, right? And I started teaching it. One of the first classes that I had a woman call me, and she said to me, Devorah, I'm taking your course right now, but it's not helping me. I said, okay, what's your problem? And she said, I can't have children. And I said, how long have you been trying? And she said, longer than I can possibly even want to share with you. I said, okay, what do your doctors say? She said, no, just nothing works. Nothing works. It's not working. And she went on a long, long, long rant. And I listened, because it's an nisayon that none of us want to ever have to have. And she said, like, I can't smile. I can't look at anyone that has children and like them. There's nothing about me that wants to wake up in the morning. If I can't have a child, I don't want to live. And it was a really hard conversation. And at the end of that conversation, I looked at her. I didn't look at her. I said to her, I said, I heard. I hear. I hear. Your life sucks. It does. And I would never want to be you in my life. Ever. I would never want to be in your shoes. Ever. But do you want to have a baby? She was like, are you crazy? I was like, because you don't sound like you want to have a baby. And she's like, what in heaven's name are you saying? What in heaven's name are you saying? I didn't know who she was. I never saw her in my life. So if she would hate me for the rest of my life, like I would ask her for mechila, but like it was better to say this than not say this, because this lady has been trying for a long time. She was like in the depths of her misery and her hopelessness. And she said, Devorah, of course I want to have a baby. So I said to her, if you want to have a baby, what I want you to do right now is to think only baby. Love your baby. What does your baby look like? How does it feel to hold your baby? What kind of clothes are you buying your baby? Where are you buying your baby clothes? How does the baby's room look? I want you to imagine, I want you to write it down. I want you to hang up pictures in your house of what you would imagine this baby's room to look like, her clothes to look like. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? What do you want? You've been telling me for an hour about what you don't want, about the life that you don't want, and how miserable the life that you don't want feels, about what it feels like to be childless, about what it feels like to be hopeless within your marriage, about what it feels like to walk down the street and everybody knows that you're not having a baby because you've been married for so long, and everybody knows that you're not having a baby, that you're childless. You've been talking to me about the problem. You have not been talking to me at all about what it feels like and what it tastes like and what the experience is like to actually experience your dream. So for the next 6 weeks of this course, I don't want to hear a word about any kind of victim feeling, any kind of complaint. I don't want to hear anything. All I want you to do is master Emunah. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks. 3 weeks in, she sends in and then we had a lot of conversations throughout, one-on-one conversations. And there's a lot of breaking down in the doctor's offices, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, I can't be hopeful, my dreams, I know it's gonna come out negative. And I scream at her, how do you wanna have a baby if you keep pushing your baby away, if you know it's gonna come out negative? And some people might turn off their computer right now, or turn off their cell phone right now because they can't hear it, because like, how dare you? What chutzpah. So I am just gonna say that I'm not talking for me. I'm talking from the Torah. I'm talking from the sources. I'm talking from Kabbalah. I'm talking from Rabbi Nachman. I'm talking about from real people that have said the truth. So people don't want to hear the truth, so then yes, you turn off your computer and continue complaining. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything for anyone, and not for myself either in my life. I'm here to deliver the facts of what it says, what our Gedolim bring down, what our Chachamim bring down in the Torah, and this is what it is. If you want to shut off your phone, your eyes, your ears, you're entitled to. But for the most of us that want to hear the truth and that want to stop being BS'd our entire lives, like the whole world does all the time, sugarcoats everything for us, and this is what it is. The reality is this, and the Zohar says this. If you want to be happy and you're stuck in an issue, the only way to be able to deal with your life is to avoid the issue at all costs, mentally. Do not think about the problem. Do not go into your head about the problem. If you're being attacked by snakes and scorpions, what do? You fight them off? You're not strong enough to fight them off. You start climbing. You start climbing out. Do not approach the problem in your mind mentally if you know that it's larger than you. If you know that if you go there, you will fall into a deep, dark pit and you will not be able to get out. You will fall into depression. You will fall into sadness. It will break you. Do not go there. Focus only, imagine only what you want, what you see, where you're going, how it feels, what it tastes like. That's where you should go. You know why? Because our minds are magnets. Koch HaMachshava is beyond any other koch we have. We have no access to any other energy, any other force that is as powerful as the mind, as our thoughts. And that's why 3 weeks in, she sends a message to the whole group. Ladies, I'm pregnant. And she gave birth a week ago.
Wow.
And then she writes an email. And my secretary screenshotted for me this morning.
Wow.
Hot off the press. Ready for this? Here you go. This is the first, I'll be honest, sorry for all the people that I'm saying this to, this is the first letter I've ever received. In my whole life, and I've received many of them since I started speaking when I was 14, that ever made me cry, but like the second I read it, I just started, tears were like flying out of me. Here it is. Devorah. This is a little out there, but can we maybe eventually, when I have a functioning brain, make a way that you can create a shiur or a 3-part series or something for women experiencing infertility? It is such a hard challenge, and it seems like day after day I find out another friend has it, and I know it would be so special for them to have. It really helps the process. No joke. I tell people all the time, my fertility doctor and Devorah helped me create this and point to my baby. And it's really not me. It's all the stuff that we're learning right now. Mm-hmm. What she did. And it's incredible when you see how mind and body, when they come together, and when you stop focusing on the things that you don't want, in essence, and you stop digging into your problems, right? How you create your reality. So if you're a victim, you will create a victim reality. And if you're sad, you will create a sad reality. And if you're unfortunate, your life will be unfortunate. If you are a winner, and if you will get to where you want to get in your life with God's help, and if you're going to be in that mind space, you will get there. You will get there. See, Hashem is like, whatever it is that you want, I'll plant for you. But just your mind is your garden, so whatever it is that you plant will grow. So however great your soil is, that's how much you're going to get. That's what you're going to get from it. Your mind is the soil. What you plant is what you're going to get. So I just want to say here, that a few things. First of all, the Talmidim of Elimelech Milodzinsk was a big person. Very, 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 very big human. Almost like an angel. His Talmidim were on their way to visit him in a horse and buggy. And on their way, they see a little boy with like tattered clothing and skinny. And it's freezing outside. He's not wearing any coat or anything. His shoes are torn. And he's dancing and singing to God, like hardcore. And they like stopped and they're like, "What are you doing? What's going on? What is this about?" And he says to them, "I'll tell you the truth. I used to say to God, God, I'm 9. Like, what can I have possibly done in my life to deserve, like, no clothes, no food, torn shoes? Like, what could I have possibly done in my 9 short years on this planet to deserve this life?" And I used to cry to God and cry to God and cry to God. And then I realized one day, hey, Why don't I thank God for what I do have? So he starts thanking God. I have a father. Wow, I have a mom. Great. I have a house. It's falling apart, but it's still a house. And he got so happy by really connecting to what he had that he went outside and he started dancing. He started dancing. And these Talmidim, these students of the Rav Elimelech Milojinsk, walked up to him and they said, "Who is your father? Take us to your house." And they walked into his father's house and they said, "Where does he go to school? Where does he go to yeshiva, this boy?" And the father said, "I don't have any money to send him anywhere." And they said, "Can you please let us take him to our Rav? We will cover all costs for everything and anything. We will take care of him. Food, everything. Just let us take him." And the father said, "Okay, yeah, if you're going to be able to raise him well and take him to a good place." And they took him to Rabbi Elimelech Milojinsk, and he was brought up there. And this was, let me just tell you who this was. This was Menachem Mendel Meriminov, who just saying his name, Gedolim shake from just saying this person's name. Why? And this was when he was 9 years old. What got him to that euphoric state of experience? It wasn't like he now had shoes and he now had clothes and he now had food and he now wasn't skinny and now he wasn't freezing. But he got this straight. He got this straight. He aligned his reality in here. You see, our perception of reality is always going to be from here. It's not objective. It's never objective. It's always subjective to where you are. It's never like, I see my life objectively and I know what's going on. You don't see your life objectively. You can't see your life objectively. It's always subjective to where you are in your mind. Always. So the more we develop this thing here in our minds, our brains, the more we develop it, the more our life gets developed. So you can have a person, there's a story about Napoleon. A story about Napoleon or Alexander the Great, I'm not sure exactly which one. I think it's Napoleon. I heard this from my Rav in Eretz Yisrael. Napoleon he had just come back from conquering 3/4 of the world with armies and armies of people. This is an amazing story. And he came back, and when he got back, the people in his town told him, there's somebody that lives on some hilltop somewhere, and he has nothing, and they say that he's the happiest person in the world. And he said, I gotta meet this person. I gotta meet this person. So he takes all of his people, his armies and everyone, and they go there. And one of the people in his armies, one of the escorts there, ran in front of the king. Ran in front of him. He was like a king, Napoleon. And he ran in front of him to this man that was lying on some hilltop. And he had nothing. All it said, it was documented that he had a cup. And then he saw somebody drinking without a cup, so he threw away his cup also. He had nothing. And Napoleon, and the guy comes up to him and he's like, stand up, the king is coming. And he said, well, I'm okay. I'm not going to stand up. And Napoleon got to him and they sat down and they had a whole conversation. And he was really impressed with him. And he said to him, I really like you. What can I give you? And he says to him, what can you give me? You. How ironic, he says to him. You. The saddest person in the world. No, not the saddest, I'm sorry. The poorest person in the world wants to give me, the richest person in the world, something. What can you possibly give me? This is an extreme story. Listen to it. Listen to the message. It's so powerful. What can you possibly give me? And he says, okay, I get the point. Okay, let me give you something. And he says to him, what you can give me is to please move away from my son. You're blocking my son. If you could just take a step to the side. He didn't fall. He didn't fall. What was the message here? And Napoleon went back. He said to him, if you need to go out and conquer 3/4 of the world, that means that you're super, super, super empty on the inside, and you just need to acquire and acquire and acquire and acquire and acquire to make you feel like something. I don't need anything in order to be happy. The less I have, the happier I am. And that is so true in our life. When we feel empty on some level, we feel empty. What do? We go out searching. We go shopping. We look in our cabinet. We open our fridge. We go out with our girlfriends or our guy friends, and we go searching. We go searching outward. And like we said before, people build extra rooms, people buy extra yachts and extra stuff and go on vacations. Why? Because they need it. They need that feeling of expansion. But the essence of expansion is only within. And that's when people can walk on coals. When people are able to understand that the power that I have inside of me, the greatness that I have inside of me is so great. It's so beyond anything that I can possibly touch or feel or smell or touch. It is so beyond any relationship that I can have. It is so beyond anything that I can acquire. The strength that I have within, the ability within to be able to get to my own happiness from aligning this thing called my brain, and only through Emunah. Next week we're going to start learning about Emunah. And what is this power? Because this power can bring you from nothing to everything without needing anything. And it's very hard today in the world that we live in today because that is the name of the game. The name of the game is how much you have. How much do you have? And our eyes see and our hearts want. That is the name of the game. But we can still one-up it. We can still one-up it in our life. The experience that I'm having right now in my life, on a personal note, here is there was always stress before Shabbos, constantly. Stress before an occasion, stress before going to work, stress before speaking, stress before, it was like constant. There was always that like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, to-do list, always. Baruch Hashem, I've tossed it. Whatever will happen. I put my whole self into preparing and doing what I can, and beyond that, I'm done. I make myself pretty for you, and I come here. That's it. No stress. And on the way, if I start getting butterflies in my stomach, or if I start getting nervous, it's not me. It's not for me. It's for him. It's not me. And I'm done. I'm just a vessel in life. And if your house is not perfectly neat for Shabbos, okay, it's all good. It's all good. Let it go. Let all that stress leave you. Because stress means trying to control the situation. And when you understand that there's no way for you to control your life, all you can do is try your best and be a happy person in the process. That's all you can do. Then you let go of what you can't control. And you can't control really anything. All you can do is put your right foot forward and do what you know to do. That's it. Like, today just a small experience. All these things really make us into who we are. I try very hard to daven chakras every single day, to pray every morning. I went years without doing it because I was busy and I had things to do, and it was always like a big, Yetzer Hara not to do it. And I started to do it. And I said, since Rosh Hashanah, this past Rosh Hashanah, I'm doing it. This is part of my process. And this morning, I just dropped my kids off, and I came home. And all of a sudden there's a knock on my door. And it was already late. It was like already 10:30. I was busy with a few other things, and I was like getting ready to like come home and pray and do it. And then I had like my whole day like set up until I have to go pick up my kids. And this morning, I get a knock on my door at like 10:30. That's my mother. My mother came over for coffee. And like a part of me was like happy, and another part of me was like, but I have to like pray, and then And then she's like, and she went to the bathroom, she's like, make some coffee. And I was standing there, and I was thinking to myself, and as I turned on the kumkum, how do you say that in English? Hot water thing, right? As I turned it on, I said to myself, because this is something that I learned from my Rebbetzin in Eretz Yisrael, and she used to always say this, and I never understood it fully like I understand it today. And she said, Lechi im hasibot. Go with the circumstances of your life. That is the highest level a person can achieve in their life. Because the circumstances that Hashem sends you is where He wants you. And so the old me would be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'll sit with my mom, and then I'll be like, okay, and then I'll give her like a feeling like, stop, right? And then I'll be davening, but then I'll be like too late to daven, and then I'll like be like, right? But today I was like, okay, God doesn't want my prayers today. He wants me to sit down and have coffee with my mom today. Chill, all right. There's no need to wear a watch. There's no need to, in essence, like try to control my life, right? That watch thing, whatever. We'll talk about it another time. Erase it. Don't think about it. You can wear a watch. Wear your watches. Wear it. Okay? Many very holy people wear watches. They're good. okay? And many holy people don't wear watches. B'shita, they don't wear watches. And specifically, they don't wear watches. That's it's a different time, for a different story, for a different time. But the message right now that I want to conclude with, and I want to say here. Oh, by the way, that story that we said about that child is from Shlomo Carlebach. So that's, we have to mention who we say things. And it's Shlomo Carlebach, and today's Shlomo Carlebach's Yahrzeit. So it's important to say it in his name. But the concept is, the idea is like this, and this I'm going to leave you tonight. The concept is like this. You are not in control of your life. Situations that happen to you happen for you. The only thing that you can control is how you perceive it and where you choose to take it in your mind. Where you choose to take it in your mind. Remember that there's nothing in your life that's happening for your complete and total benefit. We don't see because we're on page 5,000 plus. So we don't know what happened before, we don't know what's coming up next. We're on our page, we're on this one sentence, so I don't see how this is good or best for me. I don't see it. But so often in your life, and look back, do this work within yourself and for yourself, because you can go to speeches and you can listen online or you can do whatever and you can get inspired. Bottom line, push comes to shove, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to work on your brain. Your brain starts to go haywire, you bring it back. You start to think, what if, slap yourself. You don't allow yourself to go in that direction. Because once you do, you're messing it up for yourself. You're digging a hole for yourself. The only way for anybody to be happy in this world is not by what they have. You don't need money to be happy. You don't need to be married to be happy. You don't have to have children to be happy. All those things are bonuses and pluses, and all those things are super nice. But you don't need them to be happy, because happiness cannot, by definition, be contingent on anything. It is only how you interpret your life. It is always dependent on how you interpret your life. And your life can only be interpreted by the amount of Torah that you have in your mind. And by how much you are connected to godliness and spirituality. That is it. That is it. And I'm just going to say here, because I heard Rosh Shlomo Carlebach say this today. And he said, a person can keep Shabbos their entire life, but had never experienced Shabbos ever. And that is so true. We can be so like we're doing the right thing, but never really experiencing the essence of it. To experience the essence of life, to experience the essence of holiness, to experience the essence of Kedusha, of closest to ourselves, of closest to reality, of closest to spirituality, of closest to God, to experience the essence of it is not just to go through the motions of it. To experience the essence of it is only through going through the process of it. And going through the process is called avodat hasimcha. It's work to get to happiness. It's not getting to that beach, sipping that pina colada, in that bikini, with that guy next to you, in that picture-perfect reality that the world tries to sell us. No. It's avodat hasimcha. It's when you're in that moment, when you're turning on that kettle and you're thinking to yourself, but I have X, Y, Z to do, and what do I do now? Letting go. It's not my business. I'm overstepping. This is not my territory. This is where he wants me right now. I got a ticket on my car, let it go. Try to avoid, but once it's done, let it go. No looking back, no regrets. I should have. If you're in a place of I should have, then you're not in a place of emunah. Because every single thing that happens to you in your life is for your best, it's for your benefit. It's taking you somewhere. Be in the know right now. Don't start like using and abusing drugs and alcohol now, and when, God forbid, you get sick or whatever, you're like, I can't say I should have. I can't regret. No. In the moment, get educated. Make educated decisions in your life. Come to classes like you are. And at the same time, know that whatever happens, happens. And you have to be in a place of this. Accept. Thank you. On the way back here from New York 2 days ago, I was flying back here, and I got to the airport. I gave a whole class to my Emunah. We had all the women that ever took my Emunah teleconference. So there was a live thing going on, and whatever amount of women could have come came. It was our first meetup. Women from all over the world took this conference, and it was like I've never met any of these women, so it was like really, really amazing. And I've had a whole journey with them in WhatsApp groups and talking to them and phone calls, and I have no idea what they look like, so this one's like, hi, I'm Shani, and this one's like, hi, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I know all these people's lives and stories. It was like, it was amazing. Right? And I'm sitting there and I'm giving them a class, and my flight's leaving at 3:45, and I'm like 5 minutes away from the airport, so I'm cool. My suitcase is right there, and there's someone that's driving me, so I'm okay. And I get to the airport. I get to the airport at 5 to 3, and they're like, and I'm like, and I just gave a whole class about being in the this, and not just being in the this, but the highest level of this is saying thank you for like what you don't understand and what you're not happy about, but like saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then I'm like standing there and I'm like, oh, I want to go to my kids. They're waiting for me. I haven't seen them in 4 days. I want to go. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I can't get on the plane. And I'm like, what are you even saying to me? Get me on the plane now. Get me on the plane. She's like, you have to leave your suitcase if you want me to get you on the plane. I'm like, I'm not leaving my suitcase. Are you crazy? I'm not leaving my suitcase. I need my suitcase. It's all my stuff. And she's like, well, I can't get you on the plane. So what do I do? Oh, there's another flight at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm like, you don't understand. I have to get back to my children. I cannot get on the flight tomorrow morning. I have to get on the flight now. Is there another flight? She's like, no. You can go on a standby flight for another 3 hours from now, but you're probably not getting on because the flight is booked. So I take my suitcase, and I take my bag, and I'm sitting on the bench like this, like, biggest, like, never face. I look like a homeless woman, and people are coming up to me, they're like, are you okay? I'm okay. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I start, like, I have to buy a new ticket. And a new ticket is like $400 and up. And I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, all right. And as I'm going through the process of like, really like I'm sitting there like crying, right? And I had a fleeting thought, and very fleeting. And the fleeting thought was, this is not bad, this is best. This is not bad, this is best. This is not bad, this is best. All right, fine. Whatever. Amazing story happened. I can't get into it right now because it's too long. But I got another flight at 6 o'clock, and I was able to get home that night, just a few hours later. And the way it all happened and everything that happened, and running from terminal to get another flight from JetBlue, from Delta, just the whole thing. But it was amazing how the whole thing happened. But the second I was able to sit there and have that fleeting thought of, this is not bad, this is best, thank you. In that moment, everything started to happen. Everything started to happen. It was like stuck. He was putting a wall up in front of me. I couldn't get anywhere. I gave a whole class 2 seconds before. I'm all of a sudden in the situation. I'm crying. I don't see the good in it. I want to get back home. Why is this happening to me? All of a sudden, having that moment of clarity, like, okay, I surrender. And then all of a sudden, everything happened, right? Because he's always taking us somewhere. So if we don't get it, then it's not going to happen. We have to get it, and then doors open. If you keep fighting, and this is not good, and my life is not going the way it should be, and it's not happening, and it's not supposed to be this way, and why are you doing this to me? Then the doors are going to they're going to stay closed. The second you all of a sudden surrender and say, oh, I don't understand, and honestly, but I trust you, and I love you, and maybe I'm going to have to sit on this bench and look homeless. Okay, I accept, right? Then doors open. Mm-hmm. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you next week. Bring a friend.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.